Hello! Sorry that this video took so long. I was trying to show you how I was using Sanity.io in real time as I was building it out for the narrated guide blog. But my parents came over for a surprise visit over Christmas and the narrated guide blog just moved too quickly and got too fidgety, so I scrapped everything and started again. Why don't we just jump straight in? Let's install the latest version of Next.js first, and whilst that's installing, I'll talk a little bit more about headless CMS, which is what Sanity is. CMS is the acronym for Content Management System, but why is it headless? Well, it wasn't always headless. Traditionally, content is thrown into one big bucket with images, HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, etc. As a developer, if you've tried hard coding a blog before, you know how time-consuming and absolutely tedious it is, and it's very hard to reuse the same content. And that's how websites like WordPress and Medium manage to gain their market share, right? As a user, if you just want to start a blog really quickly, you can just select your blog layout, type out your content, and press publish. No coding skills required. But in the background, the content is still tied up with the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Then comes headless CMS, which basically separates the presentation layer where the content is presented from the backend where content is managed. It has much greater flexibility, reusability, and customization. When used properly with pre-generated assets and caching, the load time is also super fast. So let's install Sanity now. If you've used Sanity before, it will ask you to select a project or create a new one. We'll create a new project, and I'm going to call it example blog. I'm just going to use all of the default settings. And since we are doing a blog, it would be very helpful to have a blog template. So yes to that. And now if we run it, we have an error saying there's a string that needs some double quotation marks. So let's fix that. In tsconfig.json, we just need to wrap target here in double quotation marks. I didn't get this error before, so it must be a bug in the latest package. But it's an easy fix. And let's run that again. Much better. As I clear up the Next.js page and CSS, I'll just carry on talking about headless CMS and some of the other benefits. So with headless CMS, the same content can be displayed on different types of digital platform or software if you want to, and you can manipulate how it's displayed much more easily. Whether you're working on a project by yourself or as a team, headless CMS is a much more efficient way of working. It also suits an agile, collaborative way of working much better, as you can clearly divide the work of editing the content and displaying the content. These two tasks can happen simultaneously, so it's just much more efficient. You'll be able to get a sense of this by the end of the video, I think. Alright, let's have a look at what Sanity has given us. There is a Studio index file, which gives us a way to log into our content management system and manage the content from there. Let's go and check it out. If we go to localhost 3000/studio, there's an error, but this is a good error. It's caused by localhost 3000 not being recognized as a course origin. We can close this error message and click on the continue button to resolve this. I think Sanity has done really well here. Usually with other platforms, it just gives you an instruction of how to add the course origin. But here we can just click through some buttons and it's done automatically for us. We do need to log in. So you go ahead and do that. I'll edit out my login methods. Once you've logged in, you'll see a welcome message and then a button to add course origin. It'll ask you to log in again, and this time it'll take you directly to your CMS dashboard. Really easy, effortless. Let's look at this dashboard in the context of the schemas that Sanity has given us. To add a new post, you just need to select post and click on this add icon. You can see how the input fields are matched with the schema. And it's the same for category and author. And if we go into the body, we have some simple styling options. Sanity does have more options that we can add into the studio, but to start with, this is all we need really for a blog. In fact, it has a little bit more than what we need for a starter blog demo. You'll see a bit later on. I won't be using some of the input fields at this stage, but as we learn more about Sanity, they'll come in handy. Okay, let's give our blog a name and some basic styling just to warm up our fingers. And let's add a couple of posts via our Sanity Studio. For the author, you can add a new author by clicking on the Create button here, or the Add icon in the author filter on the left. I'm going to create it here because I'm already here. I'm not going to bother with filling out the details at this stage. You can add an image here and give it an alt text. You can add one or more categories. And to keep it simple, I'm not going to add a description right now. And then we fill out the main body of our content. Once you're happy, press publish. I'm going to add another post. This one will be a generic one just for demonstration purposes. So far, it's all very similar to writing a blog post anywhere. Very easy, very intuitive. Now, back to our coding, where the magic happens. In our Sanity folder in lib, let's add a new file called fetch.ts. I've seen a lot of people online fetching the posts within the page showing the posts itself. And that is possible. The code is slightly different, but decoupling is a much cleaner way of coding. And that is why I'm going to put the fetch function here. This is actually just copied from Sanity and pasted here. I've lost the page where I found this, but you can copy it from this file via my GitHub. Link below. And then we need a queries file. Again, I've seen this done on the front-end page, and whilst I don't particularly recommend it, it's okay. I just prefer keeping it decoupled. It is my preferred design pattern. I've left some links in the description box below. What I've copied across is the starter queries file from Sanity with some light editing by me. Sanity uses GROQ as its query language. You can read more about it via the link below. According to Sanity, it's powerful and intuitive. My opinion is that, sure, it's powerful in the sense that it works well, and whether it's intuitive, I'll let you decide as we play around with it a bit more. This is what it looks like so far. You can figure out what it's trying to do, but probably doesn't make that much sense yet. And that's okay. Let's not get bogged down by it at the moment. Let's just focus on getting the posts and the content of each post on the page. To grab the posts, let's go into our homepage. That's the page.tsx in our app folder. Let's import Sanity Fetch, import posts query, and Sanity document from Next Sanity. This needs to be async function now, and we set posts as what we fetch from our posts query, which will be an array of Sanity documents. The way we've set up posts query is that this will essentially fetch all available posts. To display this dynamically, we need to create a new component called posts. So a new folder within our app folder called components. And in components, we'll have posts.tsx. In this new component file, let's import type Sanity document from Sanity client and link from Next. We'll be receiving the array of posts in the type of an array of Sanity documents. And we can get the number of posts simply by doing posts.length. If there is one, we'll say one post. If there is more than one, we'll specify the number. Now, in our div, we can display the number of posts first, then map out the posts as a link, because we'll be displaying the title of each post. Once we click through, it will display the content. We don't need to have an index here because the post ID is unique enough to act as the key. The path can be post.slug.current, and the post title will be a h2 tag. Alright, let's add this into our homepage. So just posts and then the prop posts equals posts. As soon as you save your work, you'll see the number of posts is missing the actual word posts. So we'll add that in and maybe do some basic styling. I don't think I like it very much, but let's move on. Let's work on displaying each post now. It's going to be done dynamically again, so let's add post.tsx into our components folder. This is going to be a client-side file, so use client. Let's import Sanity document from Sanity client. Import portable text, which is what Sanity uses to present the blocks of body text. We need to import client, image URL builder, and image from next image. Let's do const builder equals image URL builder and in the parentheses client. You'll see how this builder comes into play in a minute. Now we'll be getting the post as a prop and the type will be a Sanity document. We'll structure it as a main tag here instead of a div, followed by a h1 tag showing the post title. Then if there is a main image, we'll show that. And if there is no main image, remember this is a conditional operator. So if there is no main image, we can put null here or something else that you might want to display. The source is builder.image post.mainImage .width 300 and height 300 .url. This is all to do with the format that the images are stored on Sanity's cloud. We can go into a bit more in detail later if you're interested. But for now, let's move on. The alt text will be what we inserted as the alt text. Width and height are 300 each. Where it's 300, you can play around with all of these numbers. They don't have to be 300 by 300. And if there is body text, then portable text with the value of post.body. That's it for our component so far. Now, when we click on each post title from the homepage, we said that the link will take us to the slug of that post. So let's add that dynamically rooted page now. In our app folder, we add a new folder called slug in square brackets. Because it's going to be a page, we need to add a file called page.tsx. We need to import Sanity document from Sanity client. Post path query and post query. Sanity fetch and client. What we're going to do next is a nice little Next.js perk, and that's the generate static params function. What it does is that it statically generates routes at build time instead of on-demand at request time. And that will give us the params. And then in our async post page, we can get the relevant post by doing post equals await sanity fetch. We're expecting a sanity document, and the query is post query, and then the params. It will return our post component if we feed in the post prop. When we save our file, we get a runtime error. This error is because we're fetching the images from a third-party URL, and it's asking us to add the relevant properties into our Next.js config file. So let's go and do that. If we go into our nextconfig.mjs file, we can add it in like this. If you're wondering why it says MJS in this latest Next.js update as opposed to .js, I'll add an explanation in the description box below. Alright, the scary red warning is gone. We have our post content on the page, but it doesn't look very pretty. To fix this and to get all of the text formatting that we intended to have when we added the body text, we need to install the Tailwind Typography plugin. This plugin basically provides a set of prose classes that we can use to prettify any vanilla HTML that we don't control. So any HTML that we might get from Markdown or from CMS like Sanity. Now, all we need to do is in this main tag add container, mxauto, prose extra large, px4 and py16. And that's it. I'm going to tidy up the homepage to make it a bit neater, but that is it in terms of setting up and displaying our example blog. We managed to get a blog up and running in less than an hour. And once you've done all of the styling to how you like it, you won't have to touch the code very much. You can just go into the studio from your deployed site and add content that way. I'll add more content into the actual blog post and probably try to make the pages look a bit prettier in my own time. But let's stick with this for now. We'll carry on working on this blog to understand Sanity and this GROQ query a bit more. So see you next time.